Remember no new wars? Remember I am the peace president. I am for more isolationism and not being as entangled in foreign countries and all of that. Well, they in the Trump administration, including Trump, are talking about Cuba, Iran, Colombia, and even Greenland. If you fell for Trump is the real anti-war president, what do you have to say about this? This is just the last 24, 36 hours. Here is Republican Senator Lindsey Graham praying that the United States gets involved in ding, 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 pick a country, right? Just spin the globe and point. He hopes that it is Iran.
They've chosen not to live this way anymore. And
did he say they've chosen?
Like Obama, President Trump has not turned his back on the people of Iran. So I pray and hope that 2026 will be the year that we make Iran great again.
Okay, and Looney Lindsey put on a hat that says make Iran great again. All right, so Iran is a juicy target, potentially. What about Cuba? Sure. Lindsey Graham also saying Cuba's an interesting one, too. We're going to liberate Cuba very soon.
It is
very interesting, by the way, history of Latin American liberation by the United States.
Over. It's just a matter of time. And Donald Trump will have done something that's eluded America since the 50s. Deal with a communist dictatorship 90 miles off the coast of Florida. I can't wait till that day comes. To our Cuban friends in Florida and throughout America, the liberation of your homeland is close.
All right. So Iran and Cuba. Is Looney Lindsey the only one talking about Cuba? No. Marco Rubio was asked about it. We looked at this clip yesterday. Rubio agrees. Cuba's in for it.
Is the Cuban government the Trump administration's next target, Mr. Secretary? Very quickly.
Well, the Cuban government is a huge problem. Yeah, the Cuban government is a huge problem. First of all,
so is that a yes?
Cuba, but I don't think people fully appreciate. I think they're in a lot of trouble. Yes, I'm not going to talk to you about what our future steps are going to be and our policies are going to be right now in this regard, but I don't think it's any mystery that we are not big fans of the Cuban regime, who, by the way, are the ones that were propping up Maduro. His entire, internal security.
Right. So Marco goes, yeah, no, Cuba's definitely in trouble. What about even in front of Donald Trump? Well, here is Senator Lindsey Graham in front of Trump on Air Force One, saying Cuba's days are numbered.
Could have done it. And as to this commander-in-chief, he did something people talked about doing. You just wait for Cuba. Cuba is a communist dictatorship that's killed priests and nuns. They've preyed on their own people. Their days are numbered. We're going to wake up one day, I hope in 26, in our backyard, we're going to have allies in these countries doing business with America, not narco-terrorist dictators killing Americans.
What happened to this generation that Lindsey and Donald are part of that made them so bloodthirsty? And Trump seems to like it. All right, so we might go into Iran. We might go into Cuba. Where else could we go? What about Colombia? Not Columbia, the university, although I think Trump would like to go in there too. We are speaking, of course, of the South American country, Colombia. Well, Donald Trump likes that idea as well.
Now, we have a very sick neighbor. It's not a neighbor, but it's close to a neighbor. And that's Venezuela. It's very sick. Colombia is very sick, too, run by a sick man.
Sick as a dog.
Who likes making cocaine and selling it to the United States. And he's not going to be doing it very long, let me tell you.
What does that mean? He's not going to be doing it very long?
He's not doing it very long. He has cocaine mills and cocaine factories. He's not going to be doing it very long.
So there will be an operation by the U.S. and
it sounds
Colombia?
good to me. Yeah.
Sounds good to me. Now, brief interlude to the bloodthirsty nation building. just for a moment. I know that that's a top priority, but just one other thing. We've already learned quickly that this is not really about drugs. That was the first of 4 different explanations and justifications. We already know that that's bullshit. But if that's really what you cared about, why is there not a single word being said about the fact that the real way to deal with the drug problem is to deal with the demand for it here in the United States? because you can start, kidnapping presidents and dropping bombs on boats all you want. But the drugs will find their way here if there is demand. And so we should really kind of be talking about, why does the United States demand so much cocaine and meth and psilocybin and grass and dope and sorry, I got into I got diverted there. The point here is, whatever your opinion about any particular drug, you have to consider the reason that so many places are manufacturing it and trying to get it here, which is that there's demand for it. And that isn't being dealt with. Okay, finally. So we've got Iran. We've got Cuba. We've got Colombia. What about Greenland? Well, among the bloodthirsty, Stephen Miller surprises us by how bloodthirsty he is. He says Greenland should be part of the United States. And if the United States militarily decides to do something, nobody is going to do a damn thing about it.
Important topic. The premier of Greenland and the premier of Denmark and other Danish officials are responding to a Twitter post from your wife, Katie Miller, herself a former Trump White House official, showing Greenland covered with an American flag, saying soon. After that was posted, President Trump repeated the claim that the U.S. needs Greenland for national security reasons. The Danish prime minister responded to this in an interview earlier today, as reported by Bloomberg, quote, "I believe one should take the American president seriously when he says that he wants Greenland, but I will also make it clear that if the U.S. chooses to attack another NATO country militarily, then everything stops, including NATO, and thus the security that has been established since the end of the Second World War." Can you rule out that the U.S. is ever going to try to take Greenland by force?
Well, let me go back a step. The president has been clear for months now, so I know you're treating this as breaking news. The president has been clear for months now that the United States should be the nation that has Greenland as part of our overall security apparatus. The United
Right, but
States,
your wife posted that like hours after the Venezuela operation.
No, but
that's why it's newly relevant.
No, I'm not, and I'll talk with you about it for an hour. I think it's a really important conversation. I just wanted to reset, Jake, by making clear that it has been the formal position of the U.S. government since the beginning of this administration, frankly, going back into the previous Trump administration, that Greenland should be part of the United States. The president has been very clear about that. That is the formal position of the U.S. government.
Right, but can you say that military action against Greenland is off the table?
It wouldn't be military action against Greenland. The Greenland has a population of 30,000 people, Jake. The real question is, by what right does Denmark assert control over Greenland? What is the basis of their territorial claim? What is their basis of having Greenland as a colony of Denmark? The United States is the power of NATO. For the United States to secure the Arctic region, to protect and defend NATO and NATO interests, obviously Greenland should be part of the United States. And so that's a conversation that we're going to have as a country. That's a process we're going to have as a community of nations.
So you can't take it off the table that the U.S. would use military force to seize Greenland. You can't take it off the table.
Jake, I understand you're trying very hard to
get a real answer from you.
Again, is your job. I respect it. It's great to get exactly the headline, right? That catchy headline.
I'm trying to get an answer to the question.
That says Miller refuses to rule out the United States should have Greenland as part of the United States. There's no need to even think or talk about this in the context that you're asking of a military operation. Nobody's going to fight the United States militarily over the future of Greenland.
There you go. And there is the bottom line. Miller says, if we decide to take it, nobody is going to fight us for it. So remember, Tulsi Gabbard told us there is one true anti-war voice in the 2024 election, and that was Donald Trump. And now, after the invasion and kidnapping of the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro, they are talking about Iran, they are talking about Cuba, they are talking about Colombia, and they are talking about Greenland. How is that anti-war president working out for you? And meanwhile, it's January 6th. Some people's healthcare premiums have tripled. And Trump's got 4 invasions that he's thinking of doing. Appreciate you watching. Stick around for this next video, and don't forget to hit subscribe so you actually see our uploads. You can also catch the full podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.